Hello and welcome to Life at the Chocolate Factory. So today I want to talk about breakdowns and how they're usually a part of the breakthrough. Now, this feels super relevant to me at the moment. I'm feeling really energized today, even though I've slept like 5 hours. But I've been going through a breakdown, like a massive tower moment, whatever you want to call it. Like, ever since I think February, everything has just been so intense and so many things have happened and they've just like triggered me deeply and made me question everything, especially my intuition. But as someone who's been on this journey for a while, I also recognize that this is a pattern. And usually the darkest moments come before a breakthrough. And so these breakdowns are moments when everything is just falling apart and it doesn't make any sense. It's really difficult times. I mean, for me, like a lot of relationships have ended, friendships have ended. I've had to struggle a lot with who I am, how I've changed. I've had to deal with a lot of triggers at work, a lot of things happening there, having to let go of staff, having to build a new team, and it's just made me feel, it's triggered a sense of like unworthiness that I have as a core belief. I also lost my cat December. I spoke about that in the previous episode, my soul cat. And I feel like it's just been like trigger after trigger. I've had like nightmares. I've questioned situations that I've been so sure of intuitively. So it's just all felt like a big storm, a tornado, a hurricane that I've been stuck in. And I feel like every time I come up, it's like things happen that just like put me down again and again. But as someone who has been through this so many times, I feel like even though it's really, really difficult when you're in it, like I think, I'm not going to say anything yet because I'm not sure if I'm actually on the other side yet, but I feel like things are shifting now. But when you're really deep into a breakdown, it's really difficult to see how things are going to change for the better. But when you've been through it so many times, you almost start recognizing, like when you go into that dark space, you start recognizing that there's something that needs to come out. Like there's something that needs to be purged and there's something beautiful waiting on the other side. I just feel like chaos ending and emotional lows often precede major alignment. And it doesn't really make sense because when you're in those lows, you're like, oh my God, like, how am I ever going to get out of this? But then something just shifts and you feel like you've reached a whole new level, that you're at at a completely different place. And it's really beautiful. In my life, I've had different types of breakdowns. And some of them have been more dramatic than others. But I feel like just 6 years ago, I feel like I wasn't really on the same journey back then, even though I was unconsciously. We're always on a journey. But I just feel like I wasn't really aware of what I was going through back then. So something bad happening would just ruin my entire being, and I would just try to find distractions to get myself through it because I couldn't handle the uncomfortable emotions that came with it. Now, since April of 2022, when I had my first major I don't know what to call it, breakdown, and that's when I got out of a really long relationship. I had to like change my whole life. You can go back and listen to my episodes if you want a full story, but I'll just like do a brief version of it now. Basically, I was living at my mom's because I was working with Vegan Delights, and I decided to move out with no money. I decided to get out of a long-term relationship that I had been in for 6 years. And I just decided to like uproot my life completely. And that led to a summer of like crying in my bed. But I really understood why I had to make those changes. And then, I had another breakdown come in like November, I think, of 2022, and then they just kept coming. I think the biggest one was in August of 2023. I've spoken about this one too, but like it was a really chaotic time where I had like homeless people break into my factory and squat there. It was really bad. Let's just put it that way. Let's just end it right there. And that was a really dark one. But since that one, I've just been like, every time I feel it coming, I'm like, okay, I need to go through this process again. I get it. And now I don't really resist it the way that I used to. I'm like, okay, I need to let go of this. Just take it from me. Universe, take it. Like, I get it. Like, I'm not going to try to hold on to something that's not aligned. I'm not going to resist. I'm not going to try to stay in this place. And it can be really hard because, I mean, for example, saying goodbye to your soul cat is not something that's easy. And I'm gonna just like take this all back to my recent breakdown, the one I might still be in. But yeah, basically like losing a loved pet. I had my cat for 15 years. And she was everything. She meant everything to me. And she took me through the most difficult times of my life. And her passing was really hard. Like, I cried. I grieved in ways that were beautiful in some way. Because deep down inside, I also understood that, first of all, this wasn't fully goodbye. I know that she'll always be with me. She was just done with her mission on this planet. And it was so beautiful for me to understand that. And obviously it's really hard because I miss her, but I'm also so grateful for the 15 years that I had with her. And I think I was filled with so much love and openness that I understood that it was the end of an era, and I also somehow understood that she came into my life to help me through a certain phase of my life. And as that chapter ended, she was done with her mission, and she was free to go. Her soul was free. And when I look back at like my perception of this now, I feel like it has shifted so much from the way that I would react to this a couple of years ago. In some ways, there's a beauty in endings because they signal new beginnings. And this is really hard to comprehend when you're in the midst of it. And now that was a beautiful example, but I also had, a day after she passed where I was literally lying on the sofa crying relentlessly, and I was just remembering every traumatic experience in my life that she had helped me through. And it was just really heavy. And following her passing, other things also started happening. I mean, there's been things happening the entire time. Like, it can be big things as letting go of an employee and losing your soul cat. And it can be small things as, let me take an example of what happened now. Like this weekend, Easter Eve, I got a really long and rude email from a shop owner who said that my chocolate was disgusting, that it was terrible, that it wasn't handcrafted, that it was the most disgusting thing that he had had. He also posted a reel mocking it on Facebook in a vegan group. And he just really lashed out like in his email. It was so incredibly rude. And I don't understand how people can act that way. I do understand that he's probably not in a very good place because you wouldn't send emails like that to people if you were. But it triggered me. It triggered me a lot. And it was really difficult. Like, imagine getting that at like 9 p.m. on Easter Eve and sitting there, and like I couldn't even go to sleep after that because I was like, what is this? Why is so much crap just being sent to me all the time? Now, I did reply very politely, unlike the way that the tone that he had towards me. But it was hard. And it's just small things like that just happen all the time. And it's really hard because it triggers like all of my, core beliefs that I am constantly working on. What it's done, I think, during this time, I've just like deeply questioned my intuition. I've started asking myself stuff like, because when you're just in massive doubt, I've started asking myself stuff like, are you even on the right path? Maybe your chocolate is shit. Maybe you shouldn't sell your chocolate. You've made everything up in your head. You're insane. You're not going to become anything. You shouldn't continue listening to your intuition. There's no point in doing that. You should just give up. Blah, 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 blah. And I feel like it's felt really real, and I've really been going in circles, doubting situations, doubting the vibration of love, doubting so many things that I felt so intuitively sure about. And that is really fucking hard. I'm sorry for saying that word, but it is really fucking hard. But I think that the difference now is that even when I've been in this rabbit hole, like there's been a voice at the back of my head, telling me that this always happens before a breakthrough. You know that there are old structures that are still in your life that need to be released in order for you to move forward in your personal growth journey. You know that you need to release certain things to be able to move on. And I've known that. I feel like my reality has shifted so much that I also know that a lot of the feelings that I have are only in my head. Now that is powerful, but it can still be daunting when you have all of this doubt in your head. And you intuitively know, but like your mind is so much louder than your intuition. But I think that the further you get into journey, the more you understand that breakdowns are purges. Breakdowns show you what needs to leave your life. They show you that you need to release certain things to be able to move forward. That's the beauty of breakdowns. They're not always a bad thing. And I think that the most difficult part is when you just keep going in loops. But the most beautiful part is when you just surrender to it and you're like, you know what? Okay, I get it. This is where I'm at. Let it be. And the moment you surrender, something starts shifting within. And that's when the breakthrough comes. I just feared losing everything if I did. But now I just feel like I've come to a whole new level of self-love where I'm actually coming home to myself more and more. And it feels really beautiful. I just feel like butterflies in my belly, and I feel really excited, and I feel like I have so many new ideas that I need to execute. It's really cool. So that's what came of that breakdown. But the thing is, I think the issue is that society keeps telling us to fear those moments. All we search for is stability, but in that stability, we're not really growing. And we're so scared of letting the structures in our lives break down. We're so scared of letting things end, of letting go of people, of letting go of jobs, of letting go of old structures that are no longer serving us. We're afraid to lose something that has been so important to us, but that is in the way of us developing, that is in the way of us succeeding. Sometimes we just have to let go to be able to start writing the new chapter. And now, this is easy for me to say when I just feel like I've reached my moment of clarity after a massive breakdown, but how do we make it through that breakdown? Because that's a question that's also important. And I spoke about this one episode ago, how to make it through like the darkest of times. But it's really easy to talk about when you're not in the midst of it. When you're in the midst of it, it just feels so real that you don't know how you're going to go through it. But with that being said, I think that the best thing that you can do is to stop resisting it and just accepting that, okay, you feel this way, and just sitting with the emotions that come up in a breakdown. And there's nothing wrong with like getting help. I think therapy really helped me. I'm not in therapy right now, but I have been, and it's given me the tools to deal with situations like this. So therapy really helped me, but you can also just sit with the emotions, just journal, write down what you feel, how you feel, stop resisting it and let it be. And just trust that it needs to happen. And try to figure out why it's happening. try to figure out if it can be for the greater good. The thing is that right before the breakdown happens, it's the most difficult because you're going in loops and it's just so scary to take that leap of faith. I really went through that when I let go of one of my employees. It was so hard for me to reach that decision, but when he was gone, I just saw all the possibilities. I started understanding why it had happened. I started understanding why he hadn't been in alignment with my values and what I believe is right for my company, which was extremely obvious, but it's still really hard to make a decision like that. But as soon as that was done, like, better things started happening for my business. So just try to make a decision. Makes it so much easier. Stop going in loops. Just make the decision and take the leap of faith. That just makes it so much easier, and let go. Release, grieve, go through the emotions that come with it, and trust the process. And now, I'm not a professional, so I can't really tell you what to do, but I'm sure there are so many people that you can reach out to that can really help you through a period like that. But for me, what helps is just like trying to meditate, even though my brain is completely crazy during those times. It really helps to just try to like find one thing that, makes it a bit more silent and calm within me. With that being said, imagine how beautiful it is that we break down to make space for our new selves, to make space for more light in our lives, to make space for something beautiful to enter our lives. Imagine how beautiful it is that we can let go of things without resisting it so much, without getting into this like dark hole of why is this happening to me? Imagine if we start thinking that it's happening for us. That is something that has really helped me so much, because more often than not, things are happening for us. And I'm not trying to like gaslight anyone, because I know it's really annoying to listen to people sit and be like, oh my God, it's all light, everything is happening for us. But there is some truth to it. I believe that everything is happening when it's meant to happen. I believe that there's a divine time for everything to happen. And it can be really hard and it can be heavy, but there's also beauty in that grief, and there's a new chapter that starts after it. So with that being said, if you are going through a really difficult time and you're just filled with doubt and fear and anxiety, it will get better. It will. I truly believe that it will. I just hope you find the strength and the tools and the right people to help you get through it. Because I think that these breakdowns are a part of trying to make things work. And I've said this before, like, for me, I've chosen a really weird path, and it's really difficult to like speak to people about it because they can't relate. So they're like, oh, but why are you doing this to yourself? It's because I'm pursuing my personal legend, and that path is difficult, and it's filled with doubt and fear and anxiety and breakdowns and letting go of people, and it's a hard path. But I've come so far on that path. And I've come that far because I've realized that these moments of complete darkness are a part of the path. They're leading me to my personal legend, for those of you who have read The Alchemist. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode inspired someone. See you next time.